In John chapter 6, verses 22 to 71, we see Jesus as the bread of life. On the morrow, the multitude which stood on the other side of the sea saw that there was none other boat there save one, and that Jesus entered not with his disciples into the boat, but that his disciples went away alone. Howbeit, there came boats from Tiberias nigh unto the place where they ate the bread after Jesus had given thanks. When the multitude therefore saw that Jesus was not there, neither his disciples, they themselves got into boats and came to Capernaum, asking for Jesus. And when they found him on the other side of the sea, they said unto him, Rabbi, when comest thou hither? Jesus answered them and said, Verily, verily, I say unto you, you seek me not because you see signs, but because you ate the loaves and were filled. Work not for the meat which perishes, but for the meat which abides unto eternal life, which the Son of Man shall give unto you. For him the Father, even God, has sealed. They said therefore unto him, What must we do that we may work the works of God? Jesus said unto them, This is the work of God, that you believe on him whom he has sent. They said therefore unto him, What then do you do for a sign, that we may see and believe you? What do you work? Our fathers ate the manna in the wilderness, as it is written, He gave them bread out of heaven to eat. We see this in the Old Testament. Jesus therefore said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, it was not Moses that gave you the bread out of heaven, but my Father gives you the true bread out of heaven. For the bread of God is that which comes down out of heaven and gives life unto the world. They said therefore unto him, Lord, evermore give us this bread. Jesus then said unto them, Therefore, I am the bread of life. He that comes to me shall not hunger, and he that believes on me shall never thirst. But I said unto you that you have seen me, and yet you do not believe. All which the Father gives me shall come unto me, and him who comes unto me I will in no wise cast out. For I am come down from heaven, not to do my own will, but the will of him that sent me. And this is the will of him that sent me, that all that has been given unto me I should lose nothing, but should raise it up at the last day. For this is the will of my Father, that every one that sees the Son and believes on him should have eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. The Jews, therefore, Jewish leaders, I think here, murmured concerning him because he said, I am the bread which came down out of heaven. And they said, Is not this Jesus, the son of Joseph, whose father and mother we know? How does he now say, I am come down out of heaven? Jesus answered and said unto them, Murmur not among yourselves. No man can come to me except the Father which sent me draw him, and I will raise him up in the last day. It is written in the prophets that they shall all be taught of God. A quote from Isaiah 51, verse 13. Every one that has heard from the Father and has learned comes unto me. Not that any man has seen the Father, save he who is from the Father, which is Christ. He's saying, he has seen the Father. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he who believes has eternal life. Beautiful statement. I am the bread of life. Your fathers ate manna in the wilderness, and they died. This is the bread which comes down out of heaven, that a man may eat and not die. I am the living bread which comes down out of heaven. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. Yea, and the bread which I will give him is my flesh for the life of the world. Jesus is predicting his death here, and that he is the bread of life. By eating and partaking of him, one enters into eternal life, he's saying. The Jews therefore strove with one another, saying, how can this man give us his flesh to eat? Jesus therefore said unto them, verily, verily, I say unto you, except you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have not life in yourselves. He that eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I will raise him up in the last day. For my flesh is meat indeed, and my blood is drink indeed, and he that eats my flesh and drinks my blood abides in me, and I am him. I think he's talking here about receiving Christ as the living bread and eating of him, not physically eating, but spiritually partaking of him and letting him become the source of life, the bread of life. Notice, as the living Father sent me, and I live because of the Father, so he that eats me, he also shall live because of me. He that believes in me and draws his sustenance from me will live because of me, Jesus is saying. This is the bread which came down out of heaven, not as the fathers did eat and died. He that eats this bread shall live forever. By believing in Jesus and accepting him and drawing one's spiritual nourishment from him, Jesus is saying one will live forever. These things he said in the synagogue as he taught in Capernaum. Many therefore of his disciples, when they heard this, said, this is a hard saying. Who can hear it? But Jesus, knowing in himself that his disciples murmured at this, said unto them, does this cause you to stumble? What then, if you should behold the Son of Man ascending where he was before, anticipating of his ascension back to the Father? It is the Spirit that quickens. The flesh profits nothing. The words which I have spoken unto you are spirit, and they are life. I've spoken life to you, he's saying. But there are some of you that believe not. For Jesus knew from the beginning who they were that believed not, and who it was that should betray him. Jesus knew about Judas and the betrayal, and he knew also who would believe in him. And he said, for this cause have I said unto you, that no man can come unto me except it be given him of the Father. I think the thought is, there was the saying, you're not of the Father, you're doing your own independent thing. And I think Jesus is simply saying, no one can come to me except the Father make that possible. Upon the many of his disciples, upon this, many of his disciples went back and walked no more with him. Jesus said therefore unto the 12, would you also go away? Simon Peter answered him, Lord, to whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life. A beautiful statement. Where else are we going to go? You have the words of eternal life. And that's still true today, according to John's gospel, that Jesus has the words of eternal life.
Yes.
And we have believed and know that you are the Holy One of God. Jesus answered them, Did not I choose you, the 12, and one of you is the devil? Speaking of Judas. Now he spoke of Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, for he it was that should betray him, being one of the 12. So Jesus is predicting his death and who would betray him. And this is a beautiful chapter showing that he is the source of eternal life. And by eating of him, meaning partaking of him, seriously believing in him, and drawing one's life from him, that's how one enters into eternal life. He is indeed the bread of life come down from heaven.